Welcome. My name is Zaire Academia. And I would like to welcome you all to our fourth Kamran seminar. At this point, I would like to ask my colleagues in organizing the Kamran seminar to join me. I would like to have Anjali and Academia. Murwal Bensis is also one of the organizing members who could not join us for being in Texas, but we miss her and she's with us today. Welcome to the fourth annual Kamran seminar. Our goal with the Kamran seminar is to engage and promote scholarship and research focused on ancient Iran and the Zoroastrian culture and history. Shortly, we will introduce our Kamran Seminar Fellow, Professor Oliver Winkelmann, to deliver the annual seminar lecture. But first, we have a special program we would like to share with this morning at times throughout the day.
So the Kamran seminar is named for Mr. Kamran and honors the life of good thoughts, good words, and especially the good deeds of his generous and active life in support of all Zoroastrian and especially the Zambi community. This year, working with Mrs. Banu Kamran, we are dedicating the seminar to the life of the Professor Farhang Mehr.
So I want to say first, we missed Mrs. Kamran this morning. She was very tired this morning, is not able to be with us, but she's thinking of us, and we are thinking of her as well, and hoping she feels better. Professor Farhang Mehr's life and work has positively impacted the life of Zoroastrians, Iranians, and everyone dedicated to good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, and the pursuit of liberty. As you will hear throughout the day today, Professor Mehr's lifelong efforts to advance the ideals of the Zoroastrian faith have helped to shape the lives and opportunities of Zoroastrians across the globe and here in our community. Our community here in Washington, D.C. has been touched in many ways by the work of the World Zoroastrian Organization, by Professor Mehr's continuous efforts to foster inclusion and openness across the community, and by his leadership in Iran and across the Zoroastrian community. We are honored today to have Mrs. Perichair Nadari Mehr as our special guest. Please join me for a moment in welcoming Mrs. Mehr. We will ask Mrs. Perichair Mehr to say a few words shortly, but we will begin our program with a video overview of Professor Farhang Mehr's life and many contributions, featuring members of our community who speak to the impact and meaning of Professor Mehr on so many lives. The video highlights Professor Mehr's life as a visionary, as a scholar, a leader, and a friend. So please watch while we show this video.
What is important about Farhang are not his achievements in government and all that in Iran, although they were earth-shaking by comparison, but two or three things which he wanted to do only for our community. One was he wanted the community all over the world to unite into a strong World Zoroastrian organization. The other was to see that Zoroastrians who had intermarried could be intermarried under Zoroastrian wedding rites when the children of mixed marriages could also have the navjots done. And the third thing was that he wanted the people who knew about Zoroastrianism and believed in it and wanted to practice Zoroastrianism to be accepted by the community as Zoroastrians, which even today they are not being, so accepted.
Dr. Mehr was a household name in Zoroastrian homes when I grew up in Iran. He was a source of pride for all of us, and because of his honesty, integrity, and dignity, he also held top positions in the government of Iran. He was deputy to Prime Minister Hoveyda. He was senior executive for the finance ministry and top official for the National Iranian Oil Company. He also held international positions. He was the senior executive for the OPEC Board of Governors and chief negotiator for the price of oil with foreign governments. Dr. Mehr published books on Zoroastrianism. He was also president of the Pahlavi University in Shiraz. And he continued his scholarly work when he left Iran. His book, Didi No as Dini Kohan, meaning a new view of an old religion, offered a new perspective on the Zoroastrian culture, rituals, and traditions, and on Zarathusht's teachings. It's because of all of this and his voluntary activities for the Zoroastrian community as president of the Zoroastrian Association of Tehran and otherwise that his name was always mentioned fondly in my home and among other Zoroastrians. With all of this, he's an example and a true role model for our community, and certainly one that is so hard to match.
Mrs. Mehr, I know that your friendship with my mom has goes a long way back to maybe 40 years ago. I remember when I was in my preteens, we were traveling to Shiraz, my sisters, myself, my mom and myself. We came to Shiraz and we were visiting Shiraz, and through one of our mutual friends, Dr. Mostagni, who was a professor at Shiraz University, Pahlavi University, wonderful man. He introduced you to my mom, and you invited my mom to a very fabulous lunch at your house. That was way back, and ever since, I think my mom and you have kept your friendship, and through you two, I think your husbands met, and my dad was very involved with the Zoroastrian community, and your husband, both in very different ways. I know your husband was a fabulous scholar, speaker. He was the president of the Pahlavi University, which is a very prestigious university in Iran, in Shiraz. He has contributed so much to the Zoroastrian community.
And now, please join me in welcoming Zambia's first president and founding member, a former top executive with the World Bank, and a progressive thought leader in the Zoroastrian community, Mr. Adi Davar, who will share a tribute to his longtime friend, Professor Farhang Mehr.
Good morning. it is not often, and probably once in a generation or centuries, that a Zoroastrian is born with such outstanding contributions which he makes not only for the faith but for the whole community. Such an outstanding person in a generation in our lifetime was Dr. Farhang Mehr. I knew him not only as a colleague, but as a good friend, and I am flattered that a person with his achievements and with his personality and omnibus, multifarious qualities would even deign to call me and consider me to be his friend. But in the last 5 years of his life, whatever we wrote and whatever we talked, we had the good sense to exchange things with each other, to get each other's contributions and suggestions for incorporation in whatever we said and we wrote. It's all right to say that Farhang was a leader and he made many contributions. But the question is how he made them. And this is what I would perhaps like to share with all of you. Farhang, when he was born in Iran, where if a Zoroastrian was riding a donkey and a Muslim was walking on the pavement and he was taller, he had to get off. If a Muslim was invited into a Zoroastrian home and he had tea, after he had tea, the cup was not washed but smashed to pieces. That was the discrimination under which many of the Iranian Zoroastrians functioned at the beginning of the last century. It was in this type of an environment that Farhang was born. And he rose through the efforts of his father and with the scholarships he received to study both economics and law in England. And he came back and started his own law practice in Tehran, but then soon he got the attention of the Shahs in the country. And he rose from position to position, which are very well documented in what has been circulated and in many of the circulations which you may have read. For example, in the WZO's Hamazo magazine or the Fezana journal or in the Parsi Khabar and places like that, so I won't repeat them. But it was because Farhang made such a tremendously positive impression on the Shahs and the political structure and the landscape of Iran that the other Zoroastrians who were discriminated against and, for example, were not even allowed to teach, much less to be in the army, etc., rose to be teachers, to be judges, to be generals in the army, and so on and so forth. So it was because of the impetus given by Farhang Mehr's capabilities and leadership that the lot of the Iranian Zoroastrians in Iran rose considerably in the second half of the last century. That was his major contribution, as far as I am concerned, to the community in Iran. But he was completely and totally dedicated to forge a unity amongst the Zoroastrians who were scattered all over the world. And he not only started the first Zoroastrian Congress in Tehran when he was the president there, but he followed it up consistently for many years and did not succeed, because we Zoroastrians are a very vociferous lot. We fight more with each other than with the others and refuse to unite. And so, when the Khomeini regime came, Farhang was deadly afraid that the Iranians, Zoroastrians, would be forced to convert or would be killed, which is, by the way, as you know, what has been happening to the Bahis and even to the Jews in Iran. So on his own, he traveled to various countries where he had established political contacts when he was in the government and asked them what they could do to save all of you in Iran from such a fate. They were told, he was told, that that was not possible unless the Iranians formed a world Zoroastrian body, like the Buddhists have, like the Jews have, like the Bahis have, and so on, and Zoroastrians had none. because all his efforts to the World Zoroastrian Congress since 1961 had failed. So he went from association to association until he came to London, and he persuaded the UK Association to take the lead in establishing what is called the World Zoroastrian Organization. And he ultimately got the Zoroastrian Association to be established in London. What many of you from Iran may not even be aware of was that many of your forefathers, brothers, sisters, and relatives who then fled from Iran and settled in various parts of Europe and in England, and later from there to Canada and to the United States, owe their flight and their succor and their visas to the World Zoroastrian Organization, whose father was Farhang Mehr. He is the one who persuaded the World Zoroastrian Organization to take up the matter with countries in Europe, in Scandinavia, and in England to give visas and refuge to many of these Iranian Zoroastrians. And from there, many of you got visas to then later on come to Canada and to the United States. Some of you may recall this, but many of you may not know that you owe your present existence here, for example, in Washington, to the father of WZO, who was Dr. Farhang Mehr. That was one of his major contributions. The first 5 years of WZO was spent in salvaging Iranian refugees to settle in Western countries and in Europe. Later on, he persuaded them, when that activity was over, to focus their attention on spreading knowledge of the Zoroastrian faith, on uniting the people to work there and to concentrate their activities on the poorest of the poor. So one of the things which many of our poor Zoroastrians benefit from, particularly in Iran, Pakistan, and in India, once again owes its contribution to Farhang Mehr's leadership. Farhang was also deeply aware that there are a lot of Americans, Europeans, and Britishers who believed in the principles of our faith. But because of our jaundiced attitudes in India and Pakistan, were never allowed to accept Zoroastrianism. So he took the initiative, which this is something which many of you may not be aware of convening a meeting at Dr. Dina McIntyre's house in Pennsylvania, where he called Dr. Kekashu Irani, Daraz Irani from Los Angeles, myself, and Dr. Ali Jafri for a conference. And this is where we cooked up the idea of the Zarathustrian Assembly, which you are familiar with. And Dina McIntyre drafted the Constitution based upon many of the suggestions which Dr. Farhang Mehr led the discussions on. Ultimately, the Constitution was drafted. We made a lot of changes with Farhang leading the way, and ultimately persuaded Dr. Ali Jafri to abandon his leadership of the California Zoroastrian Association and take over and run the Zarathustrian Assembly. This is how the Zarathustrian Assembly, which you all have heard of, was established and created, and in my view, the father of that movement was Dr. Farhang Mehr. That is not attributed to him even in the Zarathustrian Assembly today, because they all think of Dr. Ali Jafri as being the father and the progenitor and the runner of it. He was, but the idea and the birth of it owed it all to Dr. Farhang Mehr. He also was very keen and upset that many of us who intermarried with people of other faiths were not allowed, that their spouses were not even allowed to attend some of the jashans and the other prayer or death ceremonies of Zoroastrians. He was very upset that the marriages which took place could only be civil marriages and not take place under Zoroastrian rites. he was very upset that the children of mixed marriages could not get their nawjuds done. By the way, this practice prevailed in the United States and Canada until at least the middle of the last century, until mid-80s of the last century. It was under his guidance that I opened up this issue for public debate at the Faisana Congress in Montreal in the early 80s, and then by acclaim, that talk was circulated to various leaders and under Farhang Mehr's suggestion in various parts of the country and to various scholars to comment on. They all supported it. And then that whole thing was collated into a presentation which was sent to all the associations in North America. And the North American community was asked each separately to vote on whether to accept those suggestions or not to accept those suggestions. By unanimous consent, majority consent, except for Houston, every association in North America accepted it. And very soon thereafter, priests and mobbeds emerged out of the woodwork and started doing mixed marriages under Zoroastrian rites. They started doing nawjuds of children of mixed marriages, and some of them started initiating the spouses of intermarriages or others who believed in the Zoroastrian faith, like for example our own president of Zambi Islam and Kadamian, to have the nawjuds done. All this was probably, I was the instrument, but the inspiration behind all this was our Dr. Farhang Mehr. So he has made enormous contributions in broadening the outlook of our community, in trying to unite the community and to save the community from extinction in Iran, when the situation was exceedingly difficult, as you know, when Khomeini was made took over the Shah, and so on and so forth. And he did all this despite the fact that the Iranian regime had introduced a fatwa against him, and he still nevertheless dared them by going to Tehran several years ago at a congress which was held there, and there he was duly acclaimed as one of the saviors. And you all know about the fact that he was a very valued scholar of the Zoroastrian faith, and he wrote many books, some of which you saw on the movie which was just shown. And although he did not understand the old Gothic language or the old Avestan language in which many of these books were written, like me and many others, he relied on reliable translations and then gave his own interpretation, which has been highly respected by the scholars of Zoroastrianism and those who have cared to read him. So in brief, these are the type of contributions as a leader, as a uniter, as a savior, and as a scholar, which my friend Dr. Farhang Mehr made to the community. And I just want you to be aware of the greatness of this human being, who as a friend never told you, never led you astray. He was always straight and honest in giving his reactions. He was very strong in supporting what he believed in and what you may have to say. And he was at the same time a very staunch supporter of the family. He adored Paricha, who took great care of him. He adored his children and he adored his friends. To my mind, he was a great human being, a great man, a great leader, and a tremendous asset to our Zoroastrian community on a worldwide basis. On a parting note, you may not know that it is very appropriate that he is being celebrated here in our Kamran Center, because when Khadamur Kamran was busy constructing government buildings in Tehran as one of the leading construction companies in Iran, Farhang Mehr, as a private lawyer was his lawyer of his company. This I did not realize until both Kamran and Farhang Mehr met together after many years in Dr. Dinsha Joshi's house for one of our initial Zambi meetings, where they both hugged and kissed each other and recalled that they were associated with each other. So I just thought I would share this thought with you and leave you to ponder over it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adi, for that beautiful tribute to Professor Mehr. It is our honor and pleasure to have Mrs. Farhang Mehr join us today. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium for a few reflections.
درود بر شما که دکتر فرهنگ درود بر شما که دکتر فرهنگ مهر و خانواده‌اش آزیادم. از سوی خودم و خانواده‌ام به شما خوش آمد می‌گویم که تشریف آوردید در این گردهمایی به یاد آن روانشاد و ما پیوستید. از پایه‌گذاری این سمینار آقای دکتر زنی آنا خانم خادمیان و گروه همکاران که سمینار فراخواندن سپاسگزارم. با درود روانشاد خدامراد کامران که همگی مکان بهش کار نیک ایشان است. با سپاس دارم به بانو خانم خانواده کامران که همیشه در این گونه گردهمایی با همراه هستند. نیز سپاسگزارم از سخنران گرامی آقای پروفسور Farhang Mehr، آقای داور، آقای دکتر خادمیان، از همه بقیه سخنرانان سپاسگزارم. فرهنگ مهر مردی بود که تا زیست به شرف و افتخار زیست. چون رفت نام نیک او از خود به یادگار گذاشت. روانش شاد باد، به خاطر و صداقت و بزرگواریش در یاد یارانش برقرار باد، نامش بلند باد. من یک عمر همراه و همدل و دلبسته فرهنگ بودم. در همه اندوه‌ها، شادی‌ها، آسودگی‌ها و دشواری‌های زندگی او در میهن، دور از میهن همراه و همدل او بودم و از او بسیار آموختم. از دانش و دانایی او، از بردباری و صبور بودن او، از شرافت و بزرگواری او مرسی. از مهرورزی و نجابت و گذشت او فرهنگ به میهنش بیشتر از جانش دل بسته بود. با آن خدمت میکرد. به اینک نیز روان می شاد و سربلند در دیدنش آرام یافته است. و این نام بلندش برای همیشه در یاد همکاران همگان خواهد ماند. مایه سرفرازی من و فرزندانم خواهد بود. فرهنگ مهر زرتشتی به جهان آمد و با اندیشه نیک گفتار نیک و کردار نیک زندگی کرد. به دین نیاکانش را پاس داشت و با عشویی از جهان رفت. با سپاس از همه شما دوستان گرامی که به یاد او به ما پیوستید. ابرامزدا او و همه شما را سر بلند بدارد. Sorry I have to speak in Farsi, but I say a few words in English. I thank you all that you join us to remember him, and everybody spoke about him, so it's not necessary that I say something more about him, but I know that he was not because he was my husband, he was a wonderful man. I'm missing him so much, I'm so sorry. God bless you and thank you all for